Hello, hello, hello. Hola, 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 and welcome to today's show. My name is Sunshine Day, and it is my joy and pleasure and privilege to welcome you to our conversation and meditation today. You know, I see a world where clean and sober people are living their best life and loving it. And my purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence, in particular those who are in recovery, to awaken you to your spiritual magnificence, that you recognize and realize that right where you are, there's a power and a presence and a life that is living in, through, and as you. And that as you connect with this power, this indwelling presence, that you begin to actually see your life as someone in recovery, not from a place of disadvantage, but from a place of advantage. So, this show today is geared toward those who are in recovery. However, you don't have to be in recovery to benefit from the spiritual tools and principles and the spiritual practices that we will be in today. You know, this month we've been working with the idea of bliss and joy as the month of December is unfolding rapidly. You know, here we are, the ninth day in the month of December. And we've really been looking at how bliss is an inside job, meaning that there's nothing on the outside of us that brings us bliss or brings us joy, but in fact, we experience it to the degree in which we recognize that it is our natural state of being. Yeah, that's right. And so we've been doing our work this month out of the book called Begin Within. It's a playbook for living your genuine life, and you can pick yours up at Amazon. It is by yours truly. And the way that the book works is that instead of reading something different each and every day, like a daily word or daily inspiration, the daily inspiration is actually the same theme each and every month. And so that's what we get to practice this month, is really looking at bliss and joy. Again, bliss and joy are our natural states. You see, within you, there's a wellspring of bliss and joy just waiting to give way to a geyser of joy. Imagine that within you, there is this force, this power, this presence that is simply waiting for you to tap into it so that it can gush out, geyser out all the joy that you can handle and beyond. So this month, our daily practice or our commitment this month is to help us uncover your personal treasure chest of bliss and joy. If you're ready to uncover your personal treasure chest, your hidden treasure chest of joy and bliss, go ahead and type that into the chat and let me know that you are ready to experience joy and bliss in your life. Look, you're already smiling like, hey, I want to experience this. And especially if you're someone who's recovering, anyone who is, you know, and for me, when I talk about people in recovery, I'm talking about people who are tired of living with the substances and or intoxicants, which are in fact weapons of mass distraction. So whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex or gambling or shopping, whether it's being addicted to stress or drama, when we are sober, meaning when we are free from the intoxicants, when we are free from those intoxicants, it is then that we actually really begin to discover within us this wellspring of the natural state of our being. Hello, Ellen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad that you're with us. Thank you for being with me tonight, my friend. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about your natural state of being is bliss and is joy. Now the key is to find it. And the thing is that so many people look outside of themselves to find bliss and joy. They've been looking to the drugs, they've been looking to the booze, they've been looking to shopping or to overeating even. to find that bliss and joy, and they cannot find it. It is not at the end of an empty liquor bottle. It is not at the end of an empty syringe or baggie or blunt or, or anything. It is not at the end of that. Those are outside things that we look to sometimes to find bliss and joy, and it is not there. The bliss and joy, our natural states of being, can be found within us. But sometimes it is so covered and obscured by all these other things, all of our seeking on the outside of us, that we cannot find it. And it makes it really difficult to find. If you're ready to find your bliss and joy, that indwelling presence, bliss and joy within, go ahead and say, I'm ready. I'm ready to experience bliss and joy right now, right here, and right now. So on page 33 of the book is an inspirational message that I've written. I'm going to go ahead and read it and then just speak to it for a few minutes before we actually dive into a spiritual practice. Now, for me, also want to let you know that when I talk about a spiritual practice, for me, the word spiritual means life affirming. So a life affirming practice, a practice that once put into place, actually builds you up and lifts you up rather than destroys you or disconnects you from source itself. I mean, you can even go, really? Spiritual? Is that what that means? And it does for me. See, words don't have meaning. People give words meaning. Think about bad, does bad mean good or does bad mean bad? Like, I'm bad, I know I'm bad, right? Like, does that mean good or does that mean bad? So words don't have meaning. People give words meaning. So as we are ready now, you're saying, hey, I am ready. I am ready to uncover my bliss, my joy. And I'm also ready to engage in a regular spiritual practice, a life affirming practice that sustains me and that readies me and that lifts me up so that I'm living my best life. Now, these are tools that I'm sharing with you that whether you're in recovery or whether you're not in recovery, that once you put them into place, that your life can't help but get better on a regular basis. So here's the inspirational message that I wrote when I wrote the book. It says, our happiness, joy, and bliss exists within us. The idea that something outside of us is responsible for our bliss must be eliminated right now. In the silence and stillness of your own mind, simply ask, what is trying to come forth as me? What activities am I engaged in when I realize I am happy and joy-filled? In what ways is my bliss wanting to express? This is not about following somebody else's bliss, but discovering, uncovering, and embracing your own bliss. Follow the answers that are revealed. Try them out. Allow yourself to fine-tune your method of receiving the answers. Once you find internal bliss, run and play with it. Allow yourself the freedom to indulge in the endless joy that comes from the depth of your soul. You will notice that it was there within you all the time. And that's the key, is that sometimes some of us, especially those of us in recovery, don't stop or practice the art of stillness. Like we're not ready to like be totally still. That's why I love this idea of self-quarantine. Just like take a few moments and just be still. Sit down. Shut up. And listen. Listen to that still small voice within. And I don't mean shut up in a negative way, but be quiet. Sit down. Be quiet. And listen to this indwelling presence, this indwelling voice within you that is actually your bliss trying to speak to you in a language that you understand. You see, what I am here to do is to move forward your spiritual maturity. You know how people talk about and your IQ, like what's your IQ? And then, the latest thing has been your EQ, your emotional, right? Emotional quotient, right? But what about your SQ? What about your spiritual intelligence and your spiritual maturity? It comes from actually recognizing that right where you are is this life force and energy. And so in just a few minutes, we're going to begin to engage in a practice. I see Peggy. Peggy's ready. Peggy says, I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's make this happen. Let's uncover. Let's blow the roof off of this so that we actually stop blaming and shaming others. Because that's the thing is that when I make somebody else responsible for my joy, oh, baby, I'm only happy when I'm with you. Or, oh, yeah, when we think it's our relationship that, brings us joy, or that, it's my job or having money or property or prestige. When we begin to falsely attach our joy and our bliss to outside things, we are not ever truly gonna find our joy. What we find is that people get the house, they get the car, they get the palace, the princess, the prince, they get the partner, whoever that may be. And then as they're in bed, in the quietness of their own mind, they find that they're not even happy. That all the money that they've gotten, all the prestige that they've gotten, they feel alone and in despair. And no wonder so many people then relapse and find themselves drinking and drugging and find themselves using things, substances, people, places to feel better, because they're actually in search of something that is already within them. If you've done that in the past, go ahead and type that in, type that in the chat and let me know. Like, hey, yeah, I used to search for my happiness in people. Well, I used to search for my happiness in the booze or the drugs, or, don't out yourself if you're not ready. But, recognize that you will never, ever, ever find bliss, true bliss there. So the question then becomes like, where do I find my bliss? And where you find it is within. You find it within. You find it by focusing on your relationships. You find it by focusing on what's my part, or even that one question, right? The two questions is, what is trying to come forth as me? What is trying to come forth as me? Like there's something within me that is ready to be birthed, that is ready to be revealed to the world. And that is where the bliss is. It's trying to come forth from within me, right? And then the other way is, in what ways is my bliss wanting to express? In just a minute, we're going to take those two questions into some quiet time. But your bliss is always trying to express. And yet sometimes when that still small voice is speaking to us, we ignore it. I mean, I know it was like that for me when back in the day when I was drinking and running and gunning and, in my shenanigans, there was always that still small voice within me that would say, nah, sunshine, don't do it. No, don't do that. Go over here instead. Like, don't pick up that drink. Don't get involved there. And I would ignore that still small voice. I would ignore that guidance. And I wasn't following my bliss. And so it's important to be authentic. And in being authentic, it is listening to that indwelling presence and power that is guiding us to experience our bliss. Don't look to money or property or prestige or drugs or alcohol or any of those outer things for the bliss. It's not gonna be there. And then the other thing is, stop telling yourself, I'm gonna be happy when such and such and such. A lot of us right now are saying, oh yeah, I'll be happy when this whole COVID thing is over. I know I find myself saying that. I know I'll be happy when I'll be able to, uh, go to in-person meetings with my friends and my business associates, and we can meet up for dinner, and and just kind of connect. I know I'll be happy when that happens. I know I'll be happy when such and such happens. What we do when we say that is we're setting ourselves up and we're postponing our happiness for some far off place, instead of actually finding right where we are that happiness, that bliss, and that joy. And it comes from finding meaning in my life, meaning in my relationships, meaning in the things that I value, being authentic, calling people and having conversations on the telephone and letting them know how much they mean to me, how important they are in my life. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about not your IQ or your EQ, but your SQ, is really beginning to look within for the answer to those questions. So now's a good time to stop talking and actually start practicing. And since you're ready, let's just go ahead and do that. The invitation now is to simply close your eyes if you're in a place where you can do that. Just gently allow your eyes to close. As soon as I do that, I notice how my breathing changes. I notice how my breathing supports me being in a relaxed state of mind. I notice how by me closing my eyes, how my breathing actually gives me that opportunity to be in the stillness and in the silence. Notice for yourself what this pause is like. Notice in this moment how nothing else is important outside of this moment of self-care. And notice how bliss and joy are actually your natural states. It's your natural state of being. But it might be covered up. So what we'll do right now is simply uncover the bliss and the joy that's already there. And here's how we'll do it. It's almost like this hidden jewel that is within you, that is just covered with things. And we're not going to judge the things as good things or bad things. It's just covered up. It might be covered up by busy schedule. Oh, I'm too busy to experience joy. And so we're going to take too busy to experience joy, and we're just going to set it aside and just kind of like move it out of the way. We're also going to set aside any ideas of how could I be happy or have joy when there's so much trouble in the world? And we're not going to argue. or fight for limitations or fight against limitations. We're just going to take that thought and we're just going to set it aside. We can come back to it later or not at all. We're also going to set aside any idea that I don't have enough money to be happy. We're going to put that and just kind of move that out the way. That might be a big, big block, right? And so we're just going to gently, gently push that aside. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to just kind of have a clearing and clear away anything that might be blocking us from our bliss, from our indwelling joy. We might even begin to think, my health is not that good. How can I experience joy or bliss? So we just move that aside too. We just move that to the side for right now. It'll be there when we're done. Or I don't have the right husband, wife, partner, lover, person, significant other in my life. Oh, it's easy for you because you got somebody who you love in your life. I don't have anybody to hold me at night, so I can't experience joy or bliss because I don't have that certain somebody. So we're going to take that idea and just set it to the side too. And any other ideas, whether it's ideas of lack or limitation, or not living in the right neighborhood, or not having the right job, or even being laid off again because of COVID, we're going to take all of those thoughts and just set them to the side. And there might be some other things, some calamity, some pomp and circumstance that might be blocking us from recognizing our natural state of being, which is bliss, which is joy. So we move those things aside. And when we move those things aside, we recognize that there's something there that we don't necessarily recognize. And could that be joy itself? Could that be bliss itself? And then we simply ask again, what is trying to come forth as me? What is trying to come forth as me? And whatever answers we get, whatever hint or inkling that we get, we just let that well up. We let that well up right now. We let those answers expand. And then we also ask, in what ways is my bliss wanting to express? In what ways is my bliss wanting to express? And we allow the answer to that question to come up and to well up from within us. What's trying to come forth as me, and in what ways is my bliss trying to express? It's interesting what happens when we are quiet and still enough to listen with that indwelling ear, with that inner ear. And so find yourself in a state of gratitude. Because even if no answers came to you, you were able to clear away some of the things that were blocking you from accessing your internal bliss, your internal joy. And we're getting closer and closer, and some of us have actually tapped into it. And if you got some answers, you could type them in the chat. You can write them down in a journal or in your Begin Within book on the side there. Just begin to just jot down the answers to what's trying to come forth as me, and in what ways is my bliss seeking to express itself. And I'm going to invite you to gently open your eyes now and to behold life around you from this place of joy and of bliss. It's kind of like, wow, like I'm seeing through the eyes of joy. I'm seeing through the eyes of bliss. I am seeing around me what is for me. I love it that Tim says that joy is so simple to realize in a state of stillness of mind. It's when we're so busy that we don't even realize our natural state. Thank you, Tim. So, beloveds, the idea is between now and the next time that we're together, which will be Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific, is to practice just being still for a few moments and asking what is trying to come forth as me, and in what ways is my bliss seeking to express itself. The answers to those specific questions will come as you continue to ask. So we pause and we ask. We pause and we're still. We stop engaging in the weapons of mass distraction, and we begin to just simply recognize our natural state of being. I thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Again, this is not about our EQ or our IQ. This is about our SQ, our spiritual intelligence. And this is about our spiritual maturity. And so if you be in recovery, free from intoxicants, those things that block us from our true selves, I want to congratulate you, and I want to welcome you, and I want to tell you that I see a world where people in recovery are living their best life and loving it. And I love that whether you're in recovery or not in recovery, that you hang out with us here, because even though my program is geared for people in recovery, you do not have to be in recovery in order to benefit from the spiritual tools that provide you the personal transformation to live your amazing life and to awaken to your spiritual magnificence. Know that you are loved and honored. And until the next time, please be well.
Celebrate life. You celebrate your life. Celebrate the memories, the birds and the trees, the hugs and the kisses, the hits and the misses.
Don't wait till it's too late.
Don't wait till it's too late.
Love and appreciate.
Love and appreciate.
Show them that you care.
Show them that you care, and you'll always be there. Celebrate life, rejoice, rejoice, 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 celebrate life, rejoice, rejoice.